All right, that seems to be working. Didn't mean to do this today. I wasn't going to live stream, but I found this little pocket where I actually get half decent cell service out. So welcome to day one of the Rapala Bass Australian Open on Somerset. Real foggy morning this morning. We've been fishing for probably a couple of hours now. The fog's still around. Bit of a slow trip up in 6 knots in the fog. So I'm up above Kirkley on Somerset now. And actually have a fish. My aim this tournament was to just get a donut. So I caught a fish about an hour ago on a crankbait. I'm throwing little sort of chartreuse cranks that I caught a few fish on yesterday. And I'll just, for this spot anyway, and maybe the spots just on the other side of the lake, in this section of the lake, I'll try and keep a stream up for a little bit. Good field. Got, I think, 24 anglers, which means there's a $5,000 first prize, $1,000 for fourth, and the rest of the money in between. So good payouts, 100% payout. I just hit the camera then with the lure. 24 boats out today, and live scoreboards at abt.org.au. A couple of big fish starting to come in now. A couple of fish over 2 kilos coming in, which is awesome. Somerset is the time. This is the time and place to catch some big bass. Those 2 kilo plus fish are up around high 40s. There could be bigger come out of this joint. Lake's a bit funny. It looks dirty. If you glanced at it, you think, it's all muddy and flooded, but it's actually got a couple of, I reckon, nearly a metre of visibility in most places. Looks a bit dirty. And there's not many schools of fish. I couldn't find any schools of fish at all yesterday, so it's just become an edge bite. Water's about 16 degrees, which is perfect for fishing the edges. At 14 to 18 degrees, I think bass love being up shallow. And it hasn't been a real fish fest for me. It's just been, I had 2 bites yesterday, got 2 fish. Had 1 bite today, caught 1 fish. So we're just going to keep on working the banks, trying to fish sort of the steeper banks that have got a little bit of rock on them. Just a little bit of complex structure for the bass to sit in. You know, there's some lay down snags here, and there's a bit of rock. Every fish I've got's been where there's been a bit of that bouldery sort of rock on the bottom. There's a really cool point over here that I caught a fish on yesterday, so I'm hoping that's reloaded for today. Boat's sitting in 15 foot of water now, just sort of running that crankbait through. The fish tend to eat in that sort of 5 to 10 foot mark. About 10 winds off the bank is normally when they hit it. That's my sample size of 3. Started off this morning fishing one of the Rapala brats. I right up shallow, but I couldn't get any shallow, so I've just switched to a deeper crankbait now to just hit that zone. That zone where they feel comfortable sitting, and put some miles in. So anyway, we'll keep this live stream going as long as I can this morning, and see if I can do something tricky and actually catch a bass on a live stream that's not in a river. There's just a little bit of weed on the edge. If I throw too close to the edge, I'm going to get stuck under a bit of crap. So just casting on the outside of that, using one of the 13 fishing, one of the new, that's one of the new Fate rods. I think that was one of the prototypes that they had that I pinched off Timmy. Got a whole quiver of 13 fishing and rods and reels for this weekend. Borrow the rods off the 13 guys, so I don't know how they're going to get those back. Don't know if they're going to get those back. And they cast great. Fishing 12-pound fluorocarbon straight through on the cranks. A little bit of cushioning if something jumps on. Not as much feel on the bottom, but you don't need feel. I can feel when there's weed on it. I can feel when it snags. So sort of a bit of brim theory at play. A lot more physical fishing than bream fishing this. And actually probably more physical than barra fishing too. Barra fishing, the retrieves are like this, little twitches. This is cranking all day. Cast wind, cast wind, cast wind. And I'm behind a place called Rabbit Island at the moment. And there are thousands of rabbit holes all over it, and rabbits. And not surprisingly, a massive population of eagles, who I think like rabbits to eat. Ten foot of water the boat's sitting in there. You tell me this next point coming up here isn't textbook looking for bass. Got rock on it, little point. It's got deep water straight off it, a couple of trees sitting out on the edge. Got a couple of shallow bays each side of it. Whole events run on the ABT Tournament Series app, so that live scoreboard should be up and cranking now. abt.org.au, it's the first story on the page. All the tabs on there, you can see the media from the event, the scores, big bass, who's entered, sort of all in the one place. On the live scope I can see caddy nests up in these shallow bays. I can see there's probably 20 catfish nests up the end of this bay here. I'm sure if I fish something a little bit slower or smaller, I'd be catching those eel-tail caddies coming into their spawning time right now. Alright, big lay down in front of us here too. 10 foot of water out here. Tell me that's not a good looking point. That wasn't a bite, that was just got folded up going over a snag. These points, winding that crankbait across the knuckle of that point's always, it's been where a lot of fish have come. A lot of my bites have come in the last couple of days. If you've just joined the live stream, it's only going to be on while I've got this service in this part of the lake. There must be a tower around here somewhere, because this morning I had no service at all. And when I go up the top there, I only get 3G, so. Okay, while the sun shines. I feel it bouncing over that rock, which is pretty cool. Try a smaller jerkbait on here. I've got quite a large barra style jerkbait on. I'm going to get rid of that. Just try a slightly smaller one. Let's try. See what's in my goodie bag from the Fala. Blade, spoon, BX Brat, 20 spoon jerkbait there. Let's see what I got. Sort of deepish jerkbait. Where on my deep jerk bait went? Where did I put them? There we go, that's what I'm going to try. The Tilson that they launched at Cania. The TB55. Looks like a little bony. Suspends nicely this, I reckon, and to be just quietly, I reckon it's going to be a pretty good barreler as well. Even though it's small, doesn't make a difference, I don't think. I reckon the hardware will handle it. Wind it down 5 or 6 winds. Usually the jerkbait, I like it in the clear water. It's sort of a real visual bait, but because I'm fishing quite a complex bit of structure, that jerkbait's just sitting just above the rocks and just above the trees here. So fish it nice and slow, I reckon they'll find it. Alright, we're going to get back to work with that crankbait. I thought that maybe it'd be an early morning bite, the crankbait bite, but I got one at 10:30 yesterday morning on it, so it was in the full sunlight, so I'm not going to be as good later on, but at least they're still biting it. Bouncing over some snags there. And the last cast back over that point. So pods of bonies is about, man, there's like a school of 50 bony brims just here. I can see them scatter as my lure goes. I felt that bounce through a bony there. No bass hanging under them though. I think the bonies are a bit big. They're sort of barra-sized food. Turn over more snags. Stream seems to be up still. Well, 20 boats headed up there. Do a scoreboard check and we'll see who's doing all right. There will be some limits caught now, I bet. If you're on them, they'll be biting good. So Mick Johnson 3 for 5.6 kilos, Tom Slater 4 for 5.1, Paul Aldous 5 for 4.8, Keegan Painter 5 for 4.2. So plenty of fish getting caught, a few limits there. Tommy Wood's got his limit. I'm coming 14th at the moment with one little one. Let's fix that up. I reckon that I don't deserve to do well here because I only ever fish Somerset really in tournaments. And then I don't catch much in it. So compared to all these guys that do all the practice, good on them for getting them nailed. And since the sun's coming out now, I'm going to get some of this kit off. It was cold this morning, but it ain't cold anymore. Got a bit of sunscreen. Some gloves here. Don't like wearing gloves usually, but because my hands get wet, but I'm not going to catch many bass, I think, so I think the gloves will be no worries. of boats going up there. I think there's another boat way up there as well. Something might be going on up there. Something that I don't know about, that's for sure. Bit of zinc on, I reckon. Let's just put a couple of fish under the boat actually. Let's see if we can blade those. "20 foot of water I'm sitting in." There's a few fish sort of forming up under the boat there. There's another tournament boat coming up here. There's 3 headed up. I'm going to fish just up this little next steep bank, then I'm going to go through that gap and fish the steep banks on the other side of the main river. Let's change this to down mode. Menu, back. That menu, sonar setup, installation, orientation, down. And auto. There you go. So I'm looking one perspective mode, looking out, and the other one I'm looking down. Just because those fish were forming up around the boat. Well, the boat's headed up that arm. Let's fish a blade for a bit as we go up to this bank. I'm going to go up and I'll just crank along this edge. There's a little rock point up there. That's probably as far as I'm going to go. So many bonies out here. So many bony bream. So the one fish I got this morning so far was on a it's one of these deep crankbaits, just rolling it across some rocky bottom. Wasn't a huge fish, it was only 34 to the fork. Fog's lifting quite nicely now. She was pretty foggy this morning. So many little fish on the bottom. There. I don't think they're bass, I think they're too little. Not interested. You can see in live scope they're just ignoring the blade. They're not the bass. I'm just going to use the pecky motor and drive up to the point. I look at that on the 2D sounder at the helm here and it's definitely not bass. Little barred grunter or something. See the high water mark up here where the floods come through. There's all sorts of junk up on the bank, sticks and grass. Wind it up the hill. So many bony bream going through on the live scope. I want to have a couple of shots at this rocky point before we move on. That's the money cast right across the knuckle. Oh, hit the rock. I was expecting the bite. It was a good rock bite. Right on the money. All right, we're going to get out of here and go about a 5 to 10 minute idle across to the other side, but there's some more steep banks. Where I caught one yesterday. Another tournament boat coming up. While we go on, I'm having a sneaky little look at where Carl came. Carl came 21st last night. That's exactly where he needed to be too. A bit shallow through here. That lake drops another foot, you won't get through there. Let's go and start up here where I caught my fish the other day. Right, let's see if we can find some bass along here. Normally I wouldn't be confident cranking on this sunny sort of bank this time of day, but caught a decent one yesterday doing it, so I'm not telling the fish what they're doing, they're telling me what they're doing. It's funny how there's 5 boats up that other little arm and there's nothing in the main arm here. As usual, I don't know what's going on. Nine foot of water at the moment. See all that rocky stuff that's on the bank is in the water too, so it's the sort of stuff I want, something complex on the bottom. $17.1 now, the water. Getting a bit warmer. Let's try that blade again a bit. I don't see many fish really, but this is the right depth. The bottom looks good. Duck across the other side and work that little rocky bank. galahs in the tree. Oh, good rock bite. I like the feel of that. See if the live's still up. Yep. It's this one little pocket of the lake where you get 4G service. And just FYI, this boat coming flying up through the 6 knot zone is not a tournament boat. Our guys all do the right thing. Yeah, old mate doesn't know what 6 knots is, eh? Got 6 and 20 mixed up. Six knots, you muppet. Yep, that's you muppet. 6 knots. I reckon my transducer's been knocked a bit. That one. No, that's alright. Not seeing any fish really out wide on the sounder. Haven't seen any the whole time I've been here. Just scraping up what I can off the edges. Except I can see heaps of big boaties out there. And there's a nice sleigh down in front of us here. Good feeling bottom there. Rocky shelf, bounced all the way along it. For the live stream viewers, this is not my comfort zone. Somerset in spring can be pretty good, but it's not a normal spring. Normally the fish are schooled up a bit in clearer water, in a bit deeper water. Because the floods have been through, the schools are not there. So not really fishing to anything you can see on your electronics. I don't know if the field is or not. The field have got some good fish, but I think everyone's fishing the edges the same as I am. So I'm looking for spots where there's not just sand and mud bank. I'm just looking for spots where there's a little bit of rock, a little bit of something different. And I caught 2 yesterday in the practice doing it, and 1 this morning so far. So I'm just willing to grind it out because I can't see it. As I'm going through, I'm looking on the live scope for something else, which I'm not seeing. Heap of real small fish on the bottom, like must be barred grunter. Heap of bony brim sitting up and wide. They're in groups of 20 and 30 fish. And if I throw at them on the live scope, I can feel the lure banging through them. But they're definitely not bass. So I'm just covering ground. I don't do enough time up here to know, any go-to spots really. All the time I did up here was 20 years ago when the bass were real dumb. I mean real dumb. I caught my one fish this morning back down towards Kirklee. I stopped, because it was so foggy, I stopped at a few points on the way up the lake. Same sort of as this, just rocky sort of shaly points, and got one fish. But I've come to the spots where I got them in practice yesterday and haven't really seen them, so don't know if we need a bit of wind or not. If it was bream fishing, I'd say bring on the breeze. I don't really know what turns the bass on. We'll lay down off the end of that. So I'm going to run this stream until, while I'm in this area, I'll kill it when I'm about to go back down the lake, because it's not decent service down there. I tried a little bit of spinnerbait yesterday, a little bit of lipless crankbait, but I got bit on the normal crankbait, so that's sort of what I'm going to keep in my hand most of the day. Should be a nice little bit of shale sticking off this point. Come on, biggin. Where are you? By biggin, I mean anything over 28 fork. That'll do me. Don't mind the look of that next point in there too. It's got a nice back on it. Water temp 16.8. That is a good weed bite. No, it's a turtle. I've hooked a turtle in the foot. That's going to be messy. Come here, little fella. Supplies. I'm not going to bring him on board because he will crawl all over this joint, tearing up the stuff. Come here, mate. Come here. No more turtle. Decent turtle. Would have gone 35 fork. Let's throw a blade a little bit on the point. It's an Eco Gear ZX43 blade. Working it up this little sort of shaly point, the blade. Boat's in 8 feet here, so I'm probably throwing into 15 feet. Just no action at all on the blade for the last couple of days. Some nice little rock points in here we will investigate. And I'll tell you again, this is another boat coming up here at Farts, and it's not a tournament boat as well. Local boat.